Welcome to Smackey's Garage. Today we're going to be talking about how to remove a stuck oxygen sensor from a vehicle. We're going to look at the right tools to use, we're going to look at different techniques to do it, and we're going to take it out of this vehicle and we're going to replace it with a new one. So this is what the oxygen sensor looks like. The oxygen sensor is going to screw into the exhaust and it's going to measure the amount of oxygen or the proportion of oxygen that's in the exhaust. And from that it's going to measure the air to fuel ratio and it's going to help the car know how it is performing to adjust the amount of fuel as necessary. So here's a set of tools that we typically use for taking an oxygen sensor out. I have a 22 millimeter, or you can use a 7/8 wrench. You have an oxygen sensor removal tool, so that has a slot in it where the wire will actually come out here, make it easier to remove. You have these two tools, which you put around the oxygen sensor. You put a breaker bar on it and then you twist it. And then you have some tools that you can help to rethread the oxygen sensor bung in the exhaust if it's too rusted or you need to make it easier to put in. So when we're looking at taking out an oxygen sensor, we're not going to end up using this tool because it won't work with this style unless I have this cut off. For the exhaust that's on the vehicle right now, if you know your oxygen sensor is bad, there's no reason why you can't cut this off if you're going to throw it away and then just put this into place and use it. So you can do this, but when we look at this one is not going to work for this vehicle. It's just not going to work. What we're going to use is we're going to either use the 7/8 or the 22 millimeter option of this tool here. So the way this tool works is it slides on here and then it goes down and around the oxygen sensor. You can see now you have a good grip around it. With this and a wrench on it, it'll provide good leverage to remove the oxygen sensor. Now, a lot of people have trouble removing the oxygen sensor by using tools like this, an open-end wrench. If you want to use this end of the open-end wrench, you're going to have to cut the wire off the oxygen sensor because typically, I haven't seen any, but it's not going to fit over the connector. So you can use it to take it out, but to do that, you're going to have to cut this wire off and then put it across. A lot of people initially start trying to do it by using just this open end, putting it on the end, and then wrenching on it. What happens when you try to do this is this actually will start spreading and opening up and it'll start deflecting enough where it'll just fall off the oxygen sensor and it could actually ruin the oxygen sensor, so it's much harder to get out. So I really would not recommend using any open-end wrenches. I'd end up using this or I'd end up using one of the specific tools that come with this kit. Now I'll have a link to the kit that I'm using down in the comments. This is the one that I've been using for a little bit and it seems to be working very well. One of the tricks that I've learned while working on oxygen sensors and removing them from exhausts, especially when they're stuck, is heat always helps. So if you have some nap gas and you can heat up the oxygen sensor bung where it's screwing into, that'll help hopefully expand some things and break it apart so you can get it out. The other trick, especially when you get them stuck, is even these tools here, they will start to flex when you start wrenching on them. So let's say you have this on, you have your large wrench, you're screwing it, you're trying to take it off. This is going to start to flex. It's inevitably going to happen, especially if it's in there really tight. So what you want to do is you want to take a hose clamp like this and you want to tighten it over the top here so that it's tight to make sure that there isn't any room for it to flex or expand. Now when we go ahead and use this tool, the correct way to do it is not to use an extension and then put it like this across it. The correct way to do it to get the most leverage is going to be directly away from this black piece. So it's going to be as parallel as you can get it from here straight down. By doing it this way, it's going to make it so much easier for you to take it off and you should be able to get by with these tools. So on most cars, you're going to find your oxygen sensor in front of the catalytic converters. But on this vehicle, you're going to see the oxygen sensor is located right there. So pretty much an easy to access location. I'm going to put the tool around it and then we're going to get some leverage on it and try to take it out. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the tool and I'm going to place it over the top. Get it into place. Now that I'm in place, I'm going to open it all the way. And with it now open all the way, I'm going to wrap it around the outside of the tool. Now it doesn't need to be super tight since the stainless isn't going to expand. But now that I have this in place, I'm going to put the breaker bar in it. I'm going to go as straight as possible, and I'm going to turn it. There we go. So we got the oxygen sensor loose, and we're going to take it out. Take it out, it's as easy as just cutting the zip ties and then disconnecting it from the vehicle. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to disconnect it all the way, and then I'm going to replace it with the other one. Usually after you break them right away, you can just take them by hand unless they're extremely crusty, but this one, not too bad. You can see this one's been running really rich for a long period of time and it's really covered in residue. So probably why this one went bad. If you need to, you can use the tools that are provided in this kit, or you can just use a typical tap set and you can open up this hole here and just run it through to make sure that all the threads are clean so it's easy to get in and out next time. Now we're going to put the oxygen sensor back in. Putting the oxygen sensor back in, you want to use some sort of anti-seize on the threads so that it comes out easier next time. When we do this, we want to make sure it's just on the threads, not on the sensor itself. Then we're going to screw the sensor back into the vehicle and tighten it down. We're going to put the wiring, we're going to connect the wiring where it needs to be connected, and then we're going to use zip ties to make sure that it's out of the way. That's it. Thanks for tuning in today on Smacky's Garage. I'll see you next time.